Oh, say, can you hear?
Yet another red light.
Well, I'm gonna spill all
the secrets you're holding
about the spaceships up there and the aliens down here and all history,
which is totally fake.
I met a lady, Gail, that told me that she had a meeting coming up in Seabrook and Clear Lake. And I contacted a friend of mine that lived inside Seabrook named Victor. And I said, Victor, there's a meeting coming up here and I want to talk to Victor about this easy contact stuff. He had a lot of interest in it. And at the time, Victor said, okay, let's go ahead and do it. So we went up to the meeting. So when I went to the meeting, I had no idea what the meeting was about. So I didn't recognize the guy that was talking at the meeting, which was Fred, and Fred was talking and discussing something about Dan Burish, discussing this guy that was a former employee of MJ-12, that was a part of MJ-12, discussing the P plus 52,000s, the P plus 47,000s, all these ETs had come back in the past to get DNA, to basically repopulate the human race or whatever, some type of stuff like that. But I knew the whole story because I'd listened to Kerry Cassidy interviewing Dan Burish. So I knew exactly what he was talking about. And before the meeting got started, 2 alien females walked into the meeting and sat right beside me. So when they walked in, right, they looked at me and I could see their eyes, and everybody's in the meeting. I estimate that in the meeting there was probably 80 or 90 people inside the meeting. It was a small meeting. So when they walked in and sat beside me, I just looked at them. So they basically said to me, they can transfer thoughts, and I said to me, okay, don't say anything. So I looked at them, I said anything, and Victor was sitting to the left of me, and I couldn't tell Victor where they were. So they were sitting there watching this whole meeting going on, and the people in the meeting, and there are 2 Pleiadian, Plejarian, extraterrestrial females, a woman and her daughter, inside the meeting, sitting right beside me, and Fred is up there lecturing, and there are aliens in the UFO meeting, sitting in the meeting right there. After the meeting, I went up to Fred and I said, Fred, I'm in contact with ETs face to face. So Fred goes, oh really, I've heard this stuff before. He goes, let's talk about it. And I told Fred my crazy story about what I think is going on. Because even now, at this point, I was still fighting with myself, trying to convince myself that this could not possibly be happening, and I damn well knew that this was really happening. And Fred exposed me to a lot of stuff that was going on with other contactees, that what was happening with me wasn't actually unique, that he'd heard about this stuff before. There's a lot of it going on. I went back to go see the psychic lady one time because the only other person I had to talk to that knew that I was having alien contact was a psychic named Tammy out in Rosenberg. And there's a lot of high profile people that come into town. Some of them are in Hollywood. They come into town to see her, or secretly come in here and see her for all types of reasons. What happened was, Tammy told me in a meeting sometime, I think it was in 2008, that there's a meeting coming up, some type of UFO alien meeting, and there's a guy that I was going to meet, and he's got these bad legs. Something is wrong with his legs. And that he's a guy, he used to work for the CIA, and you're going to learn a lot of stuff from him, and he's going to be teaching you all these things and telling you what's going on and working with you and stuff like that. This meeting that I went to in January of 2009, I didn't even remember what was going on and what she had said before until after the fact. So what had happened right here, the guy was walking with a walking stick and something was wrong with both of his legs. And that guy was in that meeting. The gentleman said to me, I heard you're talking about having contact with aliens face to face, and pulled me outside. You want to talk to me? So he goes, look, I used to work for the agency. I know everything about this that's going on. I know what's going on with you. So I said, okay. So he goes, let me get your number. Let's stay in contact. Let's stay in touch. And I just realized that was the guy that she was talking about with the messed up legs. That he was ex-military, used to work inside the agency, retired from the agency. He was somebody pretty big enough to, get my attention. I stayed in contact, and I went back to the second meeting this time, though, and we had a small meeting where they were showing this police officer, a former retiree police officer, was showing evidence, according to him, of some UFO that was spotted a while back. We left that meeting and not that many people showed up, so I went to a third meeting, and I think it was a couple weeks later. And when I went there, this time a good amount of people showed up. So when I walked inside, all of a sudden the implants started going off, and I said they're aliens on the property. So I looked around at everybody in there, and people were walking in, and all of a sudden I see two of the ETs walking, a man and a woman. So they walked in and they sat down right beside me, and they're sitting, I'm sitting here, they're sitting right here, so they just looked at me, and they said to me, right when they looked at me and I saw their eyes, they look at the guy that was running the meeting. I said, I need to talk to the people about the ET contact that's going on face to face. So they saw what I said to him, to me. He says, we can't talk about that. He doesn't want me talking about that. That's not what they're interested in talking about. They want to show evidence of flying saucer ships. So I said to him, we know the aliens are here already. We have to talk about the face-to-face contact going on. And the alien lady looks at me, she goes, you don't get to talk here about your contact. She goes, you need to talk about your experience with interacting with the aliens face-to-face, what the experience is like. This is what we want out there. So she whispered this thing to me. So I said to her, but they won't let me talk about it. So she looks at me, she goes, you're wasting your time here. Don't come back here again. You're wasting your time. This is the most important thing. So I said, okay. Around the city of Houston, it had become very evident to me. Seeing the extraterrestrials walking on the streets, seeing them in restaurants, seeing them in stores. Everywhere I went, I realized that they were all over. They're all over the place. Why they were focusing on me, I was going to find out what the real reason was eventually. I was getting downloads, these psychic intuitive downloads being downloaded to me by the ETs, and they were transferring environmental data on the planet, its ecosystems, how the solar systems work, how they go type 1, type 2, all this data was coming in, and I've never really looked at data. It was in my mind, I never really applied until I started putting the data in writing and drawing the graphs and see what they're doing, to look at what they were showing me and stuff like that, and realize what they were showing me was some very important stuff. And one day, I started noticing something interesting going on. This now is about my social life right here. Whenever I would meet a woman or some lady of some kind that was not the right person for me, the aliens would let me know, we don't like that person and they're wrong for you. So one day I went out on a date with a woman I met on Facebook. I went out with her and she was sitting right beside me, and I was sitting right here. The aliens showed up inside the restaurant, and this was the first time I ever got a telepathic communication with the ET. So I'm sitting right here, and there were two women and one man, and I kept hearing somebody talking to me across, and I kept trying to figure out what the heck was going on. I heard something about, we don't like her. You need to get away from her. So every time I'd hear that, so I was eating my food, I kept getting distracted. I said, why do I keep talking to myself in my own mind? It sounded like I was talking to myself and saying in my mind, you need to get rid of her. We don't like her. It was like I was saying that in my mind, but the thing is that I was attracted to her. I did like her. So I looked at them and they were looking at me, and I saw their eyes and I said, holy crap. So then it happened again. We don't like her. She is the wrong person for you. So I said back inside my mind, I said, you don't like her? They're like, we don't like her. So now they're talking to me now, and I realized what was going on. I said, damn. They can really, really get information across to me. And I realized now they actually talk to me and ride on my own voice. So that voice that you can talk to yourself in your mind, you can speak to yourself in your mind, they can actually ride on that voice, put the information, I'm not too sure how is that, they can attach that information to my thoughts and communicate to me through my own thoughts, where I can hear myself talk back to myself, knowing that it's them. I can say, when I'm talking to myself in my mind, I know what I'm saying. When they're talking to me, I can tell it's them. This was the first time this happened. So this is how they were going to communicate later on in the future. So long story short, I would meet other women and go on other dates and that they didn't like. Right? And they were trying to tell me basically, look, you need to find someone that is interested in what you're interested in, that understands, that wants to learn and hear about these extraterrestrials. so that you can get involved, because we're interested in people that are contactees to start a generation of humans that will grow up with this new idea right here. As you're a contactee, you have your children, you tell your children, look, mommy and daddy's in contact with extraterrestrials. These are the aliens, and they want the children to meet the aliens face to face that you're in contact with. This is what they have planned for the human population. They start a generation of children that you tell the children, now the children, I'm in contact with the aliens, and then the aliens get to come around you and the children to interact with the children. This is what the ETs have planned, that they've worked out with the government, with the secret space program that's going on, man. And this is the population program right here that they're working on right here for us in the long run, over the next 50 to 100 years.
Say, can you finally
Start telling us the truth.
Protect our civil liberties and
all war?